Oh, everybody, welcome to another edition of the show that gets your Friday mornings and afternoons popping with political punditry, pop culture analysis, and, damn, what's another P word? I'm Ken Knapsack.
I could think of a few P words, but I don't think we want to throw those out under the 5-minute mark. I think there's like algorithmic disadvantage to doing such things.
Yes,
Hello,
there is.
I am Alden Diaz, and this is another day in Florida.
I
wish it was another day in Burbank, but alas.
You know, I think you'd do well in Burbank. I finished my Old Man pineapple juice, and I was going to crush the can, but this is one of those reinforced tiny pineapple cans that just can't. It don't have the Andre the Giant strength.
That's like anti-fun at a certain point. Like I know that there are a lot of like things that have changed for safety over the years. You know, lawsuits here and there. They have to update the packaging of whatever product. But like a crushable can should be standard.
Yeah, right. Like, what are we doing here, people? We used to have a society.
We barely do have a society at this point. Honestly, you joke, but I wonder. We talking off air a couple of weeks into the new era, which officially hasn't started yet. We should remind everybody. Hasn't started. Episode since the election, and yeah, things are not great. This week I did like rubber band, like I just like oscillated between horrible moods and like pretty good moods, terrible stories, good stories. I don't know where are you at? Have you been like looking for good news or just
no. I am like I said, I keep going to. I haven't changed from a lot of my thoughts last week in the sense of like this is all still bad for a lot of people, and that's not. Let's not move off that. I wouldn't even call it the audacity of hope. I don't have any. It's not about hope. It's just like a little motivation. I'm creatively motivated. Blue sky has opened up something in me where I can kind of address things more directly. That I just even prior to the collapse of X, I just had pulled off social media, as I had said. As you joked, I thought it was a great, insightful joke you made of like, in the time I've actually known you, like as I have your cell phone number, I can text you. You've never been on social media, Ken, like this, and this is like both on the fun side and the let's go after things side. So I don't know. It's hard to explain because I don't want it to sound like I'm like we're gonna be fine. I'm just saying. I think I'm not curled up in a ball, and if other people are for good reasons, I think it's up to people like me, and maybe I do mean just the people that even look like me, to you know what, curl up. I got you, right? In many ways, like I got like until you're ready to stand up or need help getting up, stay there. We got you because I'm in a different position than you, right? Like that's kind of where I'm at. Does that make sense?
No, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's being aware of your privilege, of course, and both of us as white and or white passing people, it is on us as cishet guys, and you know, guys that would support a woke Coke. Absolutely, woke Coke. You can't crush cans anymore because woke. 100%. They're coming for your cans, just like they came for the gas stoves and the guns.
Yeah,
things they absolutely took.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you. Where's your head? Where's your soul?
Yeah, I mean, like my soul blackened, like it just
like
bitterness.
A nice Chili's chicken.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like a nice, 1000%. Nice Cajun chicken pasta, the blackened.
Do you want that blackened or grilled, Alden? I'd like my soul blackened.
My soul is absolutely blackened. I've been super just angry with everything, of course, and just baffled at the incompetence of the people that are supposed to be fighting that have immediately rolled over in the press, legislators. It feels like the fire that of 16 when this happened is gone in certain ways, and you know it's still really fresh. We're still in the shock and awe period, so it's like mobilization will take time, but I've been trying to like run and hide from good thing to good thing and just like lose myself in that good thing, whether it's like playing Dragon Age or last night I did a Robin Williams double feature where I threw on Good Will Hunting, and then I watched The Birdcage right after, and you can't not feel great after revisiting movies like that. And then musically, we'll talk about music today too. I forgot last week to come on to Anytime and scream about how my favorite band, My Chemical Romance, is back, and they're going on tour with the Black Parade album. But they've updated the aesthetic and the story of the album to be about a fascist regime, and it's like my favorite album of all time, my favorite band, coming back and meeting the moment specifically while I'm angry about it. So that was great. And then today, not 2 hours ago, mine and many people's favorite rapper, Kendrick Lamar, dropped an entire album with no promotion. The entire album just showed up. And
I like that. I mean, I know who Kendrick Lamar is. I don't celebrate his entire catalog to sound like a white man from the Office Space, Bob's. I love that. I love just going here.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. We just got texts that were, it was Trey that texted us. Kendrick just dropped. We were like, what? And, you know, obviously we had the singles this year from the big Drake feud. Ken, there is a explain the Drake Kendrick beef white people video that I can.
Oh, please send them. No, I'm definitely, you know, I keep up on the crazy kids and all their, you know, beefs. You know, I got it.
Crazy kids, and it's 2 40-year-old men.
To quote Josh Johnson, he's a rapper, sir. That's great. We were just talking about Josh Johnson off air. Josh Johnson. Good, man. Well, look, hey, we're going to get to some questions for unprecedented times here. We're celebrating our arrival on Blue Sky, something I just 3 weeks ago told you don't do. The game's changed. And why did it change? The party people showed up, baby. The party people showed up, and all you people quietly reading Blue Sky books in the corner now have something to celebrate. I'm taking credit, Alden. All of us should take credit. We showed up and turned your band cool.
It's true. It's 100% true. I am so tired, and I talked about it last week in a more serious way about the tone policing and we don't do that here. We have rules here. Like, yeah, there's that, but there's also the like diehards that, as you described, liked the indie band, and then the indie band got big, and now they're like, oh, you can tell that we've had a huge influx of people, and it's like we're all refugees from the same horseshit place. Stop acting like you're different.
I don't mean to poke the bear, but yeah, I saw a couple. I'm already nostalgic for Blue Sky 2023. Great. Then form a Discord with 19 of the people you kind of know, and you'll have the same thing. This is different now. This is different. And yes, it's not going to remain perfect. And yes, there's going to be corporate infiltration. Yes. I do think there's some leadership in place at Blue Sky now that might help mitigate some of that being a disaster. But yeah, I'm with you. And look, joy and finding happiness and posting a silly little goat making a goat sound. I love those. That's part of the resistance. If you're getting up every day, it's truly part of the resistance. So,
yeah, no, you have to laugh. You have to find things to get you through it. I mean, like Molly Damon was in the comments saying, you know, to find a new hobby, which will certainly fix everything. And you know what? Maybe it will. Update us, please, all of you, on what hobbies you've been trying or are revisiting. I had a conversation with our friend Liv, Lady Kira, who I have her number. We can actually talk, but you should all follow her online for her postings as well. And we were talking about like revisiting instruments and things, and like, you know, trying to find music again, and like, you know, was I ever any good? Does it matter? And how sometimes it's more difficult to come back to a hobby than it is to start one. Because you already feel like it beat you, or that you weren't good enough.
Feel like it destroyed you. I like that. No, good, man. Absolutely. We got some questions coming up to handle a little bit of business we announced at the end of the show last week. We do have a podcast feed that's its own thing, but it wasn't really working, and we weren't really highlighting it, and I stopped loading the audio there simply because at one point there was like 2 downloads, and it was like, I don't like to waste time in this. You know, I'm a one-man shop over here, not with Anytime. Alden does that, and Alden can't handle Cast and Talk, but just I got my own problems, man. But I have moved the audio feed to my own network that's going since 2012 now, the Knapsack Network. Drop the episode over there. And if you like the audio version, want to take it with you or prefer audio, because look, I wouldn't look at my face for too long as well. It's there. It's there for you if you want. And it's helped bring some people in today. Had some longtime supporters of stuff I do going, thanks for putting this there. Wasn't really familiar with the show, but now I'm here.
Yeah, we've got a little subscriber bump. People really liked the episode last week because the Blue Sky algorithm works in as much as it presents what you say, and you can type a thing and hit send, and then it shows up, which is a fascinating concept that we had gotten away from. I was explaining it to an old friend of mine the other day, and she said, "So is it like like Instagram where it's like suggesting?" I was like, "No." I was like, "No, it can." Really. I was like, "But if you hit following, you're good."
If you go to Discover, if you go to Discover and Popular with Friends, and I have a news tab up, all good. All good. Alden, since I have somewhat of an out today, I think we should get to some questions here, and also explain what you did with these questions. I think this is a great thing.
Yeah, so I decided to go to Blue Sky since the audience is sort of exploding there, and 1 million new users per day, and so many of you have joined us there, and to post the questions there. Now, feel free, if you have a question in the comments, always drop it. Awesome. Love that every single time with the live audience. But if you're listening to this after the fact, if you are, catching us in the middle, whatever, we're going to start doing these Blue Sky posts where you're going to be able to leave questions, and I will farm them and I will keep them. And I'm going to make a little list off to the side. That way, every time we refresh, we don't lose things. Might not get to it immediately. It might be a thing that was relevant on the day you asked, and now it's not. There's always that terms of service that we are not obligated to answer anything. Right. But you guys asked some great ones to start us off.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you to all of you who participated and those in the future that will. So, okay. I just saw a great one. Where do you want to go, man? This is, you came up with this wonderful idea. I want to follow your lead.
Yeah. So let's, I have no issues going in the order that they came in just because I like all of these. That means the first question that I see here is Maddie Gunner's question. Our good friend, Maddie Mourner, who in the comments said he's been screaming into his mic for about 5 days. He's working on some great songs. He asks the Golden Arches question. You're driving down the highway and you see a magical sign with every fast food and dining option available. Note that he says every option available. You have 30 minutes. You can only pick one. Where do you go?
Heading down the highway. So am I correct? And Maddie's in chat. It's not quite as bedtime over there in London town. You can stay up. Is this a road trip question, Alden? Are you taking it as that?
I assumed. I imagine a rest stop. So like at least for us, growing up in South Florida, this could be like a Disney trip. It's 3 hours north, 3 hours back.
Yeah. 898-4M says Ken won't like this, but In and Out. Yeah, because you shouldn't do that to yourselves. Reach for a higher quality and standard for burgers.
Wow.
Let me. Yeah. It is the Golden Arches. Because that's why I asked if it's a road trip question. For years, Carl's Jr. was my road trip. East Coasters might call it Hardee's. But that's a messy thing. I've moved past that in my life. You want consistency. The genius of McDonald's, Croc's vision, whatever you want to call it, is the consistency, and the ease in which you can eat while driving. I don't stray beyond that. Love Del Taco. I go on and on about Del Taco. Horrible car food. Taco Bell. See that in chat. Horrible car food.
Zaxby's is horrible car food because they put everything in the containers and
containers.
Yeah.
McDonald's, I can literally look over and pull it out and not even have to look at the back. Also, there is the factor of where's your destination. So I'm sorry, Taco Bell's off the charts for me. It's off the list because if I'm more than 25 minutes from where I need to be, Taco Bell's a bad choice.
You're cooked. You're absolutely cooked. And Taco Bell. Like everybody has like, the Taco Bell, makes my stomach. But like, it's true. Like everyone has that story for a reason. It will get you.
Yeah, it will get you. Good choice. Whataburger's in there. King Sparkhouse says Subway. I'm a big fan of Subway and their sandwich adjacent meals. I did have that once on a road trip to Tennessee, Cal. I think I was in Tennessee coming out of Arkansas when I had the Subway. It's a horrible car food. It's an unwieldy sandwich that you're trying to get in your mouth.
Yeah, that's a lot. I think, I'm seeing some good answers, and you've made a great argument for McDonald's. I think for me, it's a two-part answer. It said the question says every option is available, so that opens it up to things that I don't know if like where you grew up has a place that is a small chain that's nowhere else, because California, I would assume, has the same things top to bottom.
Maybe.
But in Connecticut, where I'm from, we have a chain that is only in Connecticut, and I think peaks out maybe into Jersey and New York, called Dutch's.
Okay.
And Dutch's, if you and Ellis ever get out to the Northeast and do shows, it's worth booking a Connecticut show just to have Dutch's. I love it so much. It's the greatest thing. Get my cheddar barbecue burger there.
I'm sold on that.
Fries. The Dutch's jumbo hot dogs are like legendary. My sister has had our cousins bring Dutch's dogs on the plane just to bring down to her. But if I can't have that, and I have to pick from one of the usuals that's everywhere, I'm a Wendy's guy. I will always be a Wendy's guy. I get my spicy chicken sandwich, no lettuce, no tomato, but add cheese. Banger.
Okay. I'm on the Dutch's website. Does it look kind of like a poor man's McDonald's? It's got a red, white, and yellow. Okay.
That's the charm.
That's very smart of
part of the charm is just like, kind of just like, hey, we're that
Stuffers.
The first place I go when I go home for any reason.
I'm intrigued. I like this Stuffers option. A warm, flaky biscuit stuffed with your favorite classic flavors. I'm in. Right. That's a great road option. Nothing dripping out. I like Jack in the Box. A jumbo Jack on the road is good, but it gets a little drippy. And I already have a problem with most of my meal ending up on my T-shirt.
Oh, yeah. You've got the same curse that my mom has. My whole childhood, I made fun of my mom for getting ketchup on her shirts and things like that. She's just doomed for it. Some people are from birth, they are sauce people that will get stuff on them.
8984 says, if every option is available. That is what he's choosing. I'm not translating it. You know why? Because he wants to keep it a secret.
You're gatekeeping food.
Yeah.
8984M, if that is your real name. Avoid Raising Cane's from Tully Quinn. We have an anti-choice here. Okay. Not an endorsement, but an attack on Raising Cane's.
Yeah, I'll go. Ellis and I are partial to the spicy chicken sandwich, so KFC comes in handy. That was on our San Francisco trip, little KFC run. Raising Cane's, there is a Raising Cane's like I've talked about in Burbank that actually shut down and changed traffic permanently in Burbank. Haven't been. I avoid anything that's too crowded like that.
I used to go to KFC all the time as a child, and now I don't go because they got rid of the potato wedges.
Oh, I don't know. That's criminal.
They might be back. I don't know. But like the second I heard that a few years ago, I was like, "We're getting a divorce. I'm never coming back to the Colonel. I'm done with you." Fair. Like the potato wedges, or as I called them when I was a little kid, like a toddler, I used to say wedgies. I used to say, "I want my potato wedgies."
Yeah.
And they took them away from me, so because we can't have anything anymore. Nothing is precious.
Yeah,
I agree with Sean Room here. By the way, I wish Chick-fil-A wasn't the way it was, because damn, it's good food. Yeah,
it's good. Look,
no, it's undeniably good chicken.
Yeah, but it sneaks in every now and then. Every now and then, when I was in Houston, it was the only option I had when we were there for the Schmodown. It was that or a gas station, and trust me, I took the gas station too. But yeah, I agree with you, Sean, on all accounts. It's good, but also not good.
It's painful. It's painful. Brian Fennessy, thank you. I get it.
It's a good one. But KFC's a versatile restaurant. Okay.
No, it is. That is true. And honestly, talking about fast food, I've been saying this as we started Anytime. One of my dream Anytime episodes, I just haven't put effort into planning it because it doesn't make sense right now, because it should be closer to March Madness, is to do a fast food bracket. I think a fast food bracket would be so fun.
Yeah, I think we talked about dessert bracket too. Might have our buddy Plume help us out with that.
Plume, for fast food, I would absolutely need Ellis on there, because being on the road, you guys probably not only have chains that you like, but specific places where it's better.
100%. 100% things to do. And yeah, like if it's Duncan, they used to have a thing he'd get every time, but Ellis is very disciplined. So if he'll get a breakfast sandwich, it's like he'll remove the things that are bad for you or add calories or fat or anything. He's really good at that. But also, Sonic, Arby's, KFC. Yeah, those are the big ones. He's not like a McDonald's guy. He's a big Starbucks guy. Only because of the tea. If you're a feature comic for Mark Ellis, your job is to make sure you know where all Starbucks in the area of the club are, because we're going to stop 6 times in a 2-show event over 2.5, 3 days.
I like that.
You're going to stop a lot for iced tea refills.
I went to a Starbucks when I was in the Pacific Northwest earlier this year for a wedding, and it was one of the best Starbucks I've ever been to. Got my order, went, sat outside, felt the breeze of like actual air, and life might have peaked there. That was back when I thought 2024 had potential. Now it's fucked. This is the lame duck of our life. Nothing counts right now.
Don't worry. January 1st, 2025, it all starts over. We turn the page. Hope. New year, right? Oh, boy. Here we go again. All right. That's good. Yeah, I brought up Alex at the YouTube channel called Star Wars Explained. I don't know if you heard of it. It says, Ken knows where the best churro stand at Disneyland is. It's insane how granular Ken gets the best food. It's a thing. It's a thing. But yes, the one, the churro and hot chocolate stand near New Orleans Square, not quite to the Haunted Mansion, overlooking the little Tom Sawyer's Island. That's my spot.
I do want to address the Disney news today since that came up, but real quick, Molly, to offset enjoying a Chick-fil-A sandwich, says she just tries to turn someone gay every time she's there, just to make up for it. So that's
how we win. That's how we win.
We found the one with the power, the fabled power. I'm gonna call the Fox News tip line and be like, they're in Georgia. They infiltrated.
They'd believe, yeah. I told you, I pals with the woman who did the score for Inside Out 2, and she said she's had to face a lot of online people coming at her for accusing her of choosing musical chords that would turn people gay for the Inside Out 2 score. So they
was listening to ABBA before we got on the show today, so I'm sure I heard all of those chords. I'm pretty sure I heard probably every note that they talked about was probably in what I was just listening to. So good times. Oh, Dan's here.
Yeah.
One of my first ever blog posts was McDonald's steak, egg, and cheese bagel copycat recipe.
I like that.
I'm into that.
I don't have the skills to really truly copycat some of my favorite restaurants, but some people do, like Dan.
Look at this guy. There's a Five Guys here opposite St. Paul's Cathedral. So you can just sit down, have a burger, and enjoy Sir Christopher Wren's work.
But over there, we call it Sir Five Guys Poppenworth.
We call it Five Lords.
Five Lords, we call it.
Every time I do Charlie's voice, it's a completely different person.
I throw all different accents from all over the United Kingdom to it.
You can literally tour the whole country.
Worthington Ashby III talking Star Wars and Five Lords here.
Five gents, 5 lads. I'm sorry, British listeners. I'm not sorry.
No, we defeated you twice.
Yeah. No, honestly, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I have no problem making fun of them right now. Because they had a good year politically. That's why.
Better year than us.
Class warfare.
Is it class warfare then, surely? Come around in 5 gents, get yourself a little fish and chip Sammy. Is that what it is then?
You sound like you're about to sell Pirelli's Miracle Elixir and Sweeney Todd. That's a musical, by the way.
Don't even start the musical. Don't even start the goddamn musical conversation.
1,000 subs to Lion King, everyone. 1,000 subs to Lion King.
Five bloke burgers, isn't it? You know what I mean, man?
Maddie, I just mean you guys won politically in the sense that you defeated the worst option and we embraced the worst option. That's all I mean. Obviously, not going that great still for you all.
Yeah, we should stop making fun. Although we might need them as a parachute. We might have to go hang out with Charlie. Yeah,
that's true. I'm gonna go ask Charlie. Charlie, just like start lining up the single friends for a convenience marriage. All right. Do you want me to just keep doing the questions in order?
Keep doing it, man. Yeah, keep doing it. Keep doing it. Pitch it, baby.
So
pitch it.
Trey has one where we could, go anywhere with it. But we'll hit a few for each. So he says, when you're having a bad day, this is our friend Trey, who we adore. Having a bad day, you just need some comfort. What are your go-to meals, shows, movies, or songs? You don't have to answer all of those, but like specifically, bad day, break glass in case of emergency things that you go to.
McDonald's.
So sometimes I'm driving and I'm looking for fast food. It's the same conversation.
Yeah, it's the same thing. The amount of meals I've eaten in my car while crying, especially about 10 years ago. Yeah. This is great. Okay, shows. I don't have that. I don't lean on as much anymore. Movies, Lord of the Rings. If I need true deep inspiration. Yes, Star Wars, love it. It's in there as well, but Lord of the Rings, especially if I work my way up to Return of the King, and when Elrond, says, "Put aside the ranger, become put aside the ranger, become who you're born to be." I just that's been the biggest problem in my life for 40 years now is not picking up my own sword. So that I'll go to that if I need the big comfort for that. Among things, I'll pitch back to you while I think of some songs and stuff.
Yeah, those are really good answers. Lord of the Rings is for sure there. I mean, Star Wars is obviously big for both of us, particularly what I call Star Wars easy listening. Like I can't just put on Last Jedi. I need to sit. That's that's more engaged. But I can always put on Solo. I can always put on to a certain degree I was gonna say the television, but that's not true overall.
Yeah.
But
Jennifer Miro, whose comfort show is Golden Girls, fact, says, I just did it. I left watching you guys so I could sign up for Blue Sky. I was telling Jen yesterday, we had lunch yesterday, and I was like, you go over there. Spread the word. Spread the word of your wonderful work you do over there and talk to people again. Freely.
She's gonna be a hit on Blue Sky because
she will.
She already had Blue Sky vibes on Twitter in the hellscape. And so now she'll really be able to shine.
Yeah, absolutely.
By the way, we have great answers coming in here. Fuck off, Charlie. Charlie said CNN. Liv says Ferris Bueller, 100%.
Oh, that's a great
Ferris
choice.
Bueller. That's a huge one for me as well. I will actually tell you, because in the wake of the election, I had what I would describe as a charming but serious mental breakdown. Because I think I am funnier than when I'm going through pain mentally than anything else. But I guess it's probably true of a lot of people. And so like I was just like letting the vibes carry me through what I was gonna watch and who I was talking to and reconnecting with old friends who were also freaking out. And so on Letterboxd, they should honestly be sponsoring me at this point. I did a tag called post-election viewing. And so I will tell you, these are my instinctive choices of things that I watched after it happened. I watched John Mulaney's The Comeback Kid special. I watched Hercules. I watched The Wizard of Oz. I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark. I watched Spider-Man No Way Home. And I watched Pixar's Soul. And all of those movies I would describe as very young.
Okay. Yeah. Shows, I don't really have... I don't turn to shows for comfort, but I get, I'm going to do a Curb rewatch or Arrested Development, stuff like that. That pops in, but I don't have the comfort with shows. And for music, obviously, I turn to music for a lot of reasons. But if I to Trey's question of like, if you're having a bad day and you just need some comfort, when I turn to music for that, I put in the blade deeper to be blood, and so it's the worst, saddest, most destructive music because I just want to hit bottom and build back up again. I don't put on happy music. I used to drive around in my security vehicle and I'd have other officers in the car with me and they'd be like, God, you listen to a lot of sad bastard music. And it's like, yeah, I need to kind of feel the blood pouring. And a song I wrote last year with the Mood Agers, "Good to Bleed," is about that. It is a dark song. If you listen to the words, it is pretty descriptive of what it is. Because I need to be on the floor bleeding. Like I need to go that, and that's how I turn to music. So I don't have a great music answer. No,
but I hear you on that. There's a lot of comfort in leaning in. The only way out is through. Let me listen to it. I mean, I talked about them already. My favorite album is The Black Parade. That is a deeply contemplative and theatrical album about death and loss and love and
Right.
and change and all these things, and I will go to that a lot. I do like to be sad. If though I do need to like truly pull myself immediately into a good mood, I think this is also my answer for what I think is truly the greatest song of all time. Not necessarily like my favorite group or not necessarily something I'm an expert on. I couldn't tell you the writing credits on this, but if like gun to my head, if someone said, what is the one song that could save this world? It's September. I think September is the greatest song of all time.
September?
I think that is September. Yeah. I think that is the best song that we have ever as a people created. And so that I can go to a lot.
September. Okay. I'm typing in now.
You know, though, come on.
Earth, Wind, and Fire?
Yes.
Okay.
The only September that counts.
I mean, Sparky Deathcap
See?
has a
Body Ya. People know.
Okay. My pick for the greatest song of all time that I found to be multi demographical that a lot of different people have loved it is Jeff Buckley's Last Goodbye from 1994. Perfect radio song. It's to me it's the best song ever recorded in my mind.
My ex, that was her favorite, like that was her number one guy, had the poster up and everything, and like it was like in our living room. That poster then got framed and made look more presentable, and like told me his whole story and everything. And then that'll mess you up, man. The Buckley deep dive will mess you up.
Yeah, I was working in radio when he passed. Yeah, all right. That's my answer.
Yeah, I don't know. Shows, I'll throw out How I Met Your Mother. I will. I love How I Met Your Mother. I will. That's my favorite sitcom. It's like for How I Met Your Mother.
I'll throw it out too.
How you stop it? How I Met Your Mother is like if you took the ingredients of Friends but actually knew how to cook. Like it's like Friends but like good and funny even. And that
I mean, yeah, I don't have an allegiance to Friends either, but man, I love the fight you're starting.
I'm being inflammatory on purpose because I want the Friends people to out themselves in the comments.
You're going clever girl. Yeah, okay.
Indeed. Okay. Jared at Dark Jedi 2552, one of our good friends and the Nerd Academy podcast host. What is your favorite music from and inspired by soundtrack? Now you got Ken is trying to remember if Young Guns 2 has a original song in it.
Yeah, John Bon Jovi's album, his entire album. Billy, get your guns. Yeah, I mean that's a great album. It's not really, but it's a great album. I go to Rushmore as a soundtrack. We're not talking scores, we're talking soundtracks. Wes Anderson. I pulled off the Wes Anderson train a little bit. I used to be a big Wes Anderson head. He lost me a little bit over the years, I will admit, but my peak was Rushmore and Tenenbaums. Those two soundtracks come up.
You would really like Asteroid City. I know you won't ever watch it, but you would really like it.
No, I would. I will. I eventually revisited some of the stuff. It wasn't like a. It's just weird. You know, it's just you ever just put in a new album from a band you loved, and you're like, okay,
totally.
Not for me as much anymore. Yeah. High Fidelity soundtrack, Grosse Pointe Blank soundtrack. Cusack was on fire. Even the Serendipity soundtrack's good. I wouldn't put that in the top list, but
yeah.
All right, that's some. Oh, you know what? One of the all-time great just soundtracks was Clerks.
That's fantastic.
Clerks.
Yeah,
great. That Seaweed cover of "Go Your Own Way."
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, what a great call. I will say mine. This was very easy for me to decide. The soundtrack for School of Rock. It's very easy, which is a mixture of such great songs as like Immigrant Song, which was like the first time that I know I ever heard that, and a lot of like we used to just be like, "What's that song where Jack Black screams when he's driving them to the rehearsal?" Like, that movie has Led Zeppelin. It has the Ramones. It has so many great legendary bands in it, but then also the original songs that were made for the movie by the fictional bands, the titular School of Rock or Dewey Finn's previous band No Vacancy, are legit great. So that's that'll always be mine.
You know what I mentioned too? I mentioned this on Blue Sky the other day, and I've mentioned it before, but there was a 1996 movie called If Lucy Fell by Eric Schaefer. Sarah Jessica Parker, Elle Macpherson, Ben Stiller is a great kind of cameo-ish, smallish role, but it's great. It has a soundtrack that's one band. It's their debut album called "Marry Me, Jane," and it's definitely of the '90s. Obviously, a lot of my choices are from the '90s, but like I talk often about "Marry Me, Jane's" "If Lucy Fell" album.
Nice.
People talking about Pulp Fiction soundtrack.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And I, for a while, was friendly with a guy named Norman Knowles, who was in the Revels. And he, at this point, had been a lot older and everything. But this was like the mid-'90s. And he loved it because this was like 95, 96, I knew him. Pulp Fiction came out in 94. He's like, that soundtrack has bought me a new car and a house. Like, it was the greatest thing. I knew a lot of surf musicians back in my hometown. It was great.
That's fantastic. I want to shout out Matty Gunner's choice, Spider-Man. Incredible. The song "Hero" is unironically just fucking incredible.
Is it
unironically great? King for Cal Tron Legacy. Now, what's interesting
Saliva,
about Cal's
was it Saliva?
answer,
who was that? The guy from Saliva stayed. What the hell's going on there?
It's Chad from Nickelback.
Chad from Nickelback. And I'm not here to. I'm not a Nickelback. I don't like Nickelback, but 20 million sales can't be wrong. You know what I mean? Like I leave them alone. But definitely.
I like that Cal mentions Tron Legacy here. Of course, Daft Punk, but earlier mentioned his love of 90s Nine Inch Nails, and now they're making a new Tron movie where Nine Inch Nails is doing the score. So that Cal's about to win big.
Full circle. Oops, sorry.
I'm looking. Oh, okay. I started this one. Tully Quinn, because I wanted to bring this up. So he says the Hunger Games soundtrack, the first movie is amazing, and I agree. I would also like to note that the Catching Fire, which is the second film, the Catching Fire soundtrack has a cover of a Tears for Fears cover by Lorde, where she sings "Everybody Wants to Rule the World," and it is fucking aces. It's so good.
I like Lorde. I like Lorde. She sings about royals. Do you know that? Charlie probably knows that. Probably listens to 5 Gens.
Yeah, because Charlie the monarchist, noted monarchist.
Steve says Garden State. Yeah, I'm that guy. I am that guy too. And I like the movie Garden State. I stand by it. I know it has manic pixie dream girl tropes and everything. Got it. Great. Yeah. You're smart for pointing it out. Wonderful. We've moved past it. It is a great soundtrack. Zach Braff is good at picking soundtrack. The follow-up movie has I forget what it was called. He directed a movie after that. I can see the soundtrack in my head. Great soundtrack too. He's good at this. My friend Bonnie Somerville on that Garden State soundtrack too. Like great stuff. And everyone can point at the Shins thing and whatever. Only Living Boy in New York being featured on that was wonderful.
And last note on this question, as it's been said in the comments by a few people, I'd be remiss if I did not mention all of James Gunn's work. It was particularly the 3 Guardians films. Not just incredible soundtracks, but incredible cultural moments, because it reached my age group and younger and introduced them to so much 60s, 70s, and 80s music.
It's key. I really glad you said that. I don't go to those as options because I do like the first Guardian's one of my favorite MCU films. But, I don't have a lot of skin in the Marvel games, so I don't think about them as much. But without a doubt, Gunn is holding the last burning candle for soundtracks. They don't really exist anymore as they used to. They're still out there. But this is a great example. And exactly what you're saying. I work in oldies radio on my Saturday morning shift. And 30 to 40% of the songs, it's Guardians of the Galaxy that made them popular again. It is TikTok. Sometimes I run up against TikTok. It's not something I love, but the dude on the skateboard drinking the cranberry juice and Fleetwood Mac's playing, that was a cultural moment. And I don't want to lose these songs. I don't want to lose these things. And I love when people discover them.
And what makes it work in particular that people have tried to replicate Gunn and it hasn't worked as well is that the songs in those 3 movies it's diegetic. They are being heard when we're hearing them, for the most part. And they're all on the character's playlist. So when you think about Come and Get Your Love, or you think about The Chain, or you think about No Sleep Till Brooklyn, or like anything that the 3 movies use. And I would also throw in The Suicide Squad, which didn't approach it in the diegetic way, but still had, some great stuff with Pixies and with Oh God, what's
Agree
that
with
song called? What is that song called?
I
I'll
can't
think of it
recall.
in
I
a
didn't
second.
see it. Molly
It
Dan
had the
says
Decemberist on it.
I wrote a paper in college about the song "Waiting Line" from the Garden State soundtrack. Sure, I'd like to read that, Molly. I love that song.
Yeah,
Love that
Molly,
song.
where are all your college papers? Read those.
Yeah, there you go.
Good
Okay,
stuff.
cool. Yeah, a lot of great choices in chat. You guys are killing it.
Yeah, good stuff. Look at all these tasteful, cultured people. All right, Eli from In a Galaxy Podcast has a question. You're putting on the Anytime Film Festival. Pick like 4 to 6 films together collaboratively that we would show. So they put us in charge of a film festival, Ken. Why
Okay.
is that? I do not know. Where
It's
is it?
dangerous.
I guess we could pick anywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
I want Grauman's Chinese. I think we deserve that.
Okay. Grauman's Chinese. That's perfect. That's perfect. In the big theater or just one of the side ones up there on the second level. Okay. Film festival. And here for sake of this conversation, I suggest that we do what I do with my shirt, the Indiana Solo and the Fellowship of the Ewoks, where we take those out.
For sure.
Because of course, sure. Let's just do a Star Wars marathon. Let's do an Indy. Let's take those out. Indiana Solo and the Fellowship of the Ewoks off the table.
Yes.
And then we
Agreed.
can run our festival.
Agreed. And it's also interesting that Eli phrases this as the Anytime Film Festival. So it's sort of like what represents the two of us and what we do and what we like.
Okay. Well, look, I'm going to suggest one because you're right. I don't want this to be the Ken Festival, the list of movies I handed my therapist years ago and said, here's the 10 movies that have effed me up. But this one's on the list. But I do think it represents us in a lot of ways. And that's Almost Famous because I am a bit of Lester Bangs sitting here just going, I'm uncool, man. Like I'm always here. And you're out there.
So
you're out there chasing.
The only currency we have, Ken. That's the only currency we have.
It's the only currency we have. So I put that on the list. I'll even write this down with you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm writing them down too. I'm writing this down as if it's ever going to happen outside of maybe Ken's backyard one day.
You can how about this? Post this on Blue Sky.
Yeah, yes, I'll post it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make the list on Letterboxd, screenshot it, and then put that on Blue Sky.
And if I had more time, I'd get those goddamn clips out I tried to get last week.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
Does anyone want to work for free for far too many hours on doing clips? Because that was a problem last week. All right, true. That's one. Okay, where do you go now?
I see. That's the thing is I'm also trying to balance like things I know that we've both seen.
But just it's the spirit of it.
It's also
politically engaged, generational exchange, mentor-mentee. That it's a
spirit
both
of
ways
it, honestly.
Relationship. Yeah,
and it's in my 4 favorites. We got to go Little Miss Sunshine.
Okay.
Michael Arndt's script, Steve Carell and Paul Dano with a scene that definitely fits the vibe of our show, where, after being told he won't be able to fly in the Air Force because he's colorblind, Dwayne, played by Paul Dano, is talking to Steve Carell, and they come to the conclusion, you know what? You do what you love and fuck the rest. And hearing that line as a child in 2006, because I was a child in 2006.
Right. I was not, yeah.
Fundamentally altered my brain chemistry.
I love that. Lazy Bolt says the first 6 Twilight films. I don't disagree.
There are, you're close, man. There are 5, I believe, because they split the last one. So you joke, but we could almost get to 6 Twilight films.
There'll be more.
We could do the 5 Twilight films and then the bad Buffy movie, which is still really enjoyable.
Oh, the one that started Christy Swanson?
Yeah, before the show.
Who
yeah.
Lives up in Santa Clarita and is completely mega. Yeah.
No.
Really? Like an early adapter, by the way. Like an early 2015, The Reckoning is Coming kind of mega. Yeah, she always would go to stand-up. She'd hang out at stand-up shows up there in Santa Clarita.
That's ass. All right, so that's 2 films. So go back to you.
Ah, man. Wait, what did you put? You put Little Miss Sunshine and what?
We have Almost Famous and Little Miss Sunshine.
Almost Famous. Sorry, I was like, did I miss you? Man. Okay. Gosh. All right. I'm going to put, no, that's not necessarily us. I was trying to go with Roxanne, but that's not the right relationship. Which one of us is the firefighter that's an asshole? That's not us. But it is our ethos. All right. So I'll tell you, I would put Dirty Rotten Scoundrels because that's also kind of us.
That's a good one. That's a
We're
really
two.
that's a good
We're
one.
two.
Good
We're two
vibe.
grifters. We're just two grifters.
And that has Ian McDiarmid.
Welcome to hell. Great.
Good stuff. I like that choice.
Okay. I think something.
There's an obvious one that we haven't said.
Rain Man? Oh, come on, man. That's not.
It's not Rain Man. Up in the Air. Jason Reitman's Up in the Air.
Oh God, yeah.
That is a
Are you Anna?
Anytime
Are you Anna
movie.
Kendrick? Are you Anna Kendrick? I think you're Anna Kendrick.
Oh man, that's so funny. It's like
you're definitely
if
Anna
we
Kendrick.
made an Anytime movie and Alden is gender swapped inexplicably.
And I'm definitely Clooney. Who's by Vera Farmiga? Is it? I think it's Alex Damon.
Yeah. Do you think you have a chance? And then he's like, "This is my wife." You're like, God.
Molly comes to the door. I'm like, I've been lied to.
Oh man. All right, so that's good. All right. Anything else jumping out at you?
A lot of people suggested Firewalk with Me. If this was the Scrimshaw Diaz Film Festival, yes.
For sure.
I don't love a ton of Lynch. I do like the Straight Story a lot, though, but not putting it.
Straight Story's great. Yeah. Oh, interesting.
God, that's a good one. I'm trying to think of. There's a long list of options, but
I feel like we should end. Well, we could do this one, and then we should, although, have like a kick-ass, like crowd pleasing, like type movie that we both like.
Yeah. So you're talking about Young Guns too? Is what you're talking about?
Young Guns 2 could be it. Because we removed 3 huge franchises. But there are still like.
Well, Young Guns 2 is the greatest film of all time. Yeah, I stand by that statement. So yeah, okay.
Young Guns 2 could be there. I'm down for Young Guns 2.
A little bit. Okay.
And then that's when we'll bring out like you and Ellis and Nathan Hamill and Riley and everybody else that loves it to do like a riff track for it.
Brian's got a good choice and a choice I have never seen. Even though I was in film school when this film was all the rage. The Boondock Saints I've never seen. But Dogma is one of my favorite films.
Dogma's in for sure. Yeah.
Dogma says, "I'm gonna get you, sucker," and I'm all for that too. Let's do it. Dogma. Yeah, and I know the Dogma 2 story was half baked and pun intended and Kevin came out to clarify that he's like, no, I haven't talked to anyone, but I poked around a script. Yeah, but I'd love to see it.
So in conclusion,
good choices.
We're gonna start the show with Almost Famous, then we'll go to Little Miss Sunshine, then Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, then a brief intermission to take pictures with Ken. I'll take the pictures.
Okay.
And then we come back with Up in the Air. Then we end the night with a double feature of Young Guns 2 and Dogma, which should just rock everybody's world.
It's connected because you got the Golden Gods and Dogma, and then you got the line of, do you think I'm a god? You are not a god. We'll pull the trigger and find out. Like, come on.
Oh, it's badass. Good shit. All right.
Okay, great question.
We have a few more questions here. We have 8984M says, "What does your daily grocery list look like?" Well, I'll tell you, it looked too expensive until we fixed it. The election.
Yeah. Thanks, Biden. Thanks, capitalism. I keep it simple, man.
Simple. Yeah, it's not.
Exciting. I keep it simple. There's been stretches where I do a lot of cooking at home. Came out of the pandemic doing that. Excuse me. I'm like a simple breakfast guy, a coffee and either an English muffin. I don't go too deep on breakfast. Weekends, maybe. We don't have a lot of eggs in our house, but then I don't know. I keep it simple. Whatever I do for about 2-3 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like English muffin breakfast, salad lunch, lean cuisine dinner. I keep it the same. And that goes for about 2-3 week runs, and then I change. Like, this week I want homemade sandwiches or soup. I had soup last night.
Nice. I'm very similar in that way, where it's like there will always be the standards that are there. I'll always get ginger ale. I will always get certain cereals, milk if I need it. But just building around it based on what I know is coming up or what I know I want to do. But I don't host. I don't have that situation right now where I need to be worried about anything beyond my own sustenance. So
Yeah.
it's not really an exciting answer. I am not a cook or anything by any means. I can if I need to,
Sure.
but yeah.
I'll whip up some quesadillas, some enchiladas, or something like that. I like doing
Yeah.
that. But basically my idea of cooking is cutting up a tomato and onion and putting cheese on it. That's pretty much what it is. Maddie Gunner asks a great question. What makes a muffin English? It has a cool melody to it. Yeah. It has a history of, taken from other countries. I don't know.
Yeah, it sort of colonizes your toaster.
Yeah, slowly.
As answers.
I love toast. I'm a big fan of toast. I'm a toast guy. Okay, butter. Put some butter and honey on it. Put some butter and jam. I'm all there, man. And I don't like it too burnt. Grace likes to burn the hell out of her toast. I like it a little softer. But English muffin's a perfect mix for me. A little bite-sized treat. Fills me up. It can be a dinner. It can be a late night snack. It can be a breakfast. I'm good with it.
Good shit. I have not much more to add because I'm not an exciting grocery shopper.
Kingsport Cal says I buy beer and build upon that, and I don't think that's wrong.
No, I think that's a great strategy, honestly. Next we have from Coop. Cooper asks, what defunct punk band would you revive for these current events? Punk bands that don't exist anymore that I would want to revive. I mean, we end up in the conversation of like, am I bringing people back from the dead? Which is another thing.
Yeah, and who was really, going on? It's like, and then also who's stayed true to themselves if they're still around, because obviously we know Johnny Rotten has gone rotten. It's an interesting conversation. I mean, he's still going, but I would go back to the beginning with Henry Rollins and infuse some vampire blood in him, so he's forever.
Yeah, that I mean, honestly, that makes a lot of sense doing that. I know Dead Kennedys are active again, so I guess they're not technically in it, but
punk adjacent, Rage Against the Machine,
yeah, of course, yeah. Blink is back, and if they live into their 30s, are they really punk?
But that's definitely pop punk, which is a viable genre. I'm not saying that dismissively, but I'm just talking about the LA scene, the fight against the powers that be. They're not seen because it's too many big hits, but like the Clash would be who we need.
Yeah. I'm good with any of these. I don't have a strong like punk history bent on like making specific connections of like this person would definitely have commentary. Now I don't know enough.
It's been a genre that I've always had over here, and a lot of it kind of bleeds out, and I like some of it, and I love the history, and it led to so many things. And a lot of punks become non-punk and great songwriters and different kind of styles, and Jesse Malin's a great example of that. I mean, hell, the Go-Go's were punk. The LA punk scene in the 70s, early 80s was powerful. They emerged from that and became what they were, which I love the Go-Go's, but not punk when they hit big. So yeah.
No, totally. Okay. I'm going to skip these last two, go down, keep us on music, and then we'll end with these two non-music ones. Okay. Sticking with music, Tully Quinn has a very specific question that a classic rock DJ such as yourself, but not a classic rock DJ, you are a classic rock DJ. How come Fleetwood Mac still has such a thriving fan base while Janis and Jefferson Airplane are pretty much forgotten?
I think my gut reaction to that is Janis is locked, unfortunately, in a time capsule. So you have what you have with her. She was not as she's obviously some big hits. I don't think she's the music and the Holden Company and everything is not as sleek as Fleetwood Mac would become when Buckingham Nicks join up and they become one of the biggest bands of all time. But definitely their reign in the 70s is probably not even fully understood by people unless you live during that time. And Justin Airplane went through too many changes that watered down the legacy, whether you like the stuff or not. Marty Balin is a great songwriter. The heart of the band, Grace Slick, is one of the great rock stars of all time during a certain era. But the switch from Airplane to Starship
then just Starship.
Starship. Yeah. I think waters it down a bit. Where the Mac, though they again started as a British blues band, whatever. I think they've stood the test of time, but they've had rebirths. Look, I hated them in the '90s. Like they represented an era of music that in the '90s we were supposed to fight against. The big stadium era, the big bands, the AM radio hits, the FM gold, all the stuff that I'm part of now. In the '90s, especially when I first started my radio career in like '94, like you weren't supposed to like that. And they won me over. The story is so just goddamn great. That VH1 doc on them, and then behind the album, whatever it was, and then their reunion with what 96 that comes out. So I mean, yeah. Then they pick up speed, and then every once in a while, I think generations discover them. And
That's what it is.
Stevie Nicks being elevated to the witch queen that she is. Which again, she joined her and Buckingham joined late in the band's existence almost.
That's what I think that's part of it. It's Plume said it here, and so did Liv. That it's the soap opera, and it's the lore that keeps people interested. And to speak to that, my sister is 8 years older than me, and we have completely different music tastes, and we never liked any of the same things. But she really liked Fleetwood Mac. That was the only rock band that ever held her interest. So therefore, me being the little brother who did like rock, being like, why did that captivate even my sister? And then you start to look at some things that we've talked about in this episode already that have contributed. There's kids my nephew's age that know Fleetwood Mac because of Guardians 2. And then I know who Stevie Nicks is because of School of Rock, because when he's trying to get Joan Cusack drunk, he heard in the teacher's lounge that she loves Stevie. So he throws on Edge of 17, and Jack Black like dances down to their seats. And I remember hearing that for the first time, and that opening is so iconic, which then Destiny's Child would sample and everything. And you start to dig into these people, and you realize like, oh, they were able to do these beautiful things despite all this tension and pain and hurt. And it just crystallizes in so many other people's art. Like one of John Mulaney's most famous bits is the Rumors was written, for and about people cheating on each other. Like, and it just becomes conversational currency too.
Fascinating. And like Laserbolt, who I have a feeling Laserbolt might have seen Jefferson Airplane in San Francisco at the heyday. They have a ton of conflict, and they got a great story. Grace Slick is an interesting character in the history of rock and roll. I just think there was a little bit of burnout. And again, not to in the late '80s, especially when Mac came back, like they were of the '80s and not the best of ways, similar to Starship. They just emerged, man, and the dance comes back in '96 in a time when alt rock was going strong. But I mentioned the Clerk soundtrack earlier. Seaweed's cover of "Go Your Own Way" was like my introduction to that song in a way. I was familiar with it, but I wouldn't listen. It was like, that's Fleetwood Mac. That's from the '70s. Oh, what's Seaweed's doing this song? And it's like, oh, okay. So that's why there's great value in music being passed on through movies and TikTok and social media. Taylor Swift.
You got the Cranberries version too, which is great.
Yeah. I play that on Pop Rock and Radio. Lady Kira saying my little sister's dressing up for Stevie Nicks for the Eras tour tomorrow. And that's, you got folks like Taylor and others kind of going, here's who came before us. I think that's all part of it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
and they're great. They're a great fucking band.
And they're fucking really good. Yeah, like when people like Chappell Roan has cited Stevie as an influence on her, and how many people discovered her for the first time after she said that. And that is, unfortunately, because of things you already noted, for real life reasons and just cultural reasons, things don't have the conversational staying power.
Yeah, and I agree with Tully. I'm always going to feel like people today are sleeping on Janis, though. She had so much power. The band wasn't that great, but Janis, man, the kids should know. I agree with that, too. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from Janis Joplin. She's a legend in a short amount of time for a reason. If you've ever heard just the raw performances at live shows and everything, she's something else, man. But it was of a different area. Like we didn't see her glitz up if she would ever would. She was of that Haight-Ashbury vibe, which was very specific to the time, and that was very of its time. So we don't see the evolution, and that might hurt her in the long conversation too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, everyone. I'm glad we took this time to talk about Fleetwood Mac, because now I'm going to be absolutely jamming when this episode is over. We got a couple more questions here I saved because they are potentially the funniest and juiciest. And the first one comes. This question requires a little bit of context, and as much as we had already touched on your ongoing journey with unpacking the effects of commercialized religion on the election and on other things, and it comes from an account that has DJ from The Last Jedi as the profile photo, and it just says maybe, and it's at Look to La Luna 1138. So we got a Star Wars fan here for sure, who asks, how do we kill white Jesus? And of course, we don't literally mean fight and kill him, although I did respond with a Buffy gif of her flipping her wooden stake around, because if he ever came at me, I'm prepared. But how do we defeat this, Ken? You know, a light, simple question.
Yeah, light, simple question. It is untangling decades, if not centuries, if not generations of entanglement, and doing it, I think, with a little care and concern, not with a sledgehammer. For my money, as I've said, even when I'm talking about it on my solo show, The Blathering, like I'm not here to tell you that God isn't real and Jesus wasn't real and Jesus is the Son of God. I'm not here to tell that to you. I still have thoughts about that I hold on to because of just how I was raised or things I've experienced. I'm not here to take it away from you, but I do think you have to face the real history of it and be okay to question it. I've been taking deep dives on this channel called Holy Kool-Aid. That has a great series that's been going on for like 4 years about nothing fails like Bible history. And that kind of stuff I wouldn't watch in the past, even when I was not feeling it. And I haven't really stepped into church regularly since 2004. Because, you know, we have these things that you're just raised and they're comforts. And I don't mean that in a dismissive way. Just like, who wants someone to come in and rip the rug out from underneath them?
Sure.
I can only go from my own experience where it's not a shouting at me. It's just a soft, quiet explanation of the actual history and the actual damage. And for me, tying it, the big thing is the political side of it. And I ranted on it last week, so I won't repeat it word for word, and I'll repeat it with less anger. But just that the Republican Party, after losing to new generation politicians like JFK and Lyndon Baines Johnson, to an extent, even though he was certainly older, that you hear historians say, as I've said before, Nixon would be considered liberal, Eisenhower would be considered liberal by certain standards based on government policy and everything. Goldwater out of Prescott, Arizona, emerges, loses in 1964, and the Republicans dig in. And they start entangling it so much that the idea of white Jesus stands in opposition of what, if it's a real historical Jesus, it ain't that. And it's in every decision. And so that's why I'm telling you, like, we can come up here and talk about empathy and compassion and this and that. But when you know, I know people that can't loan money to me or others in need because, well, the Bible teaches us to teach a man to fish, not give him fish. It's like, oh, man, like it's so ingrained that you've kicked dirt over compassion and empathy. But the only way I can approach it right now is a slow and steady untangling and presenting what I think is the truth, but what you might think is at best, you know, interesting that you need to explore more, and not treating the Bible as, I think, a legend for the most part, full of perhaps some real characters, some not, or some combined and this and that. Doesn't have some sort of value to you personally. I'm not going to take that away from you. I just want to address it to see if you can have a different perspective on it. It's the only way I can do it.
Well said. Well said on all of that. I don't really have that much to add, just in terms of my own experience being significantly less involved with the church. And I was given that agency really young, to the chagrin of my mom now, who I think regrets it. But teaching children, I think, is so fundamental, and it will tie in with a question we're going to answer to end this. But it's like teaching them a healthy amount of, I don't want to use the word suspicion, but you know what I mean? Like a healthy amount of being able to understand metaphor, because like really what you're describing about, like, well, it says to teach a man to fish. It's like, well, it's like, okay, but like, let's talk about how we are making decisions now, and this might not be so literal. like we're we should be acting in the spirit of what we say,
That
and that
that
our actions, you know.
That's the big thing for me, Alden. You've heard me say before here on this channel is even conversations with family of mine and friends where I'm like, your heart doesn't match your voting record, and how can I get you to see that without coming in with the sledgehammer? Because I again been on the other side, legacy Republican, legacy Christian white suburban kid, where you didn't have to you just had a certain point of view and you went about and lived your life because most people just want to go to the store, get their eggs, and go home, and then suddenly either it's a younger generation or other people, and suddenly the conversation changes culturally, and someone is coming in with a sledgehammer, and I resisted in a lot of ways, and felt sometimes like a friend of mine, we kind of had an untangling over. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it, over the term gypsies, because I had dealt with them as a group in Los Angeles in a way she hadn't, and had conversations with them who were like, yeah, that's who we are. Call us that. We're not anything else. That's our identity. And it was a thing I had to do as a security director. It was weird. I had to call into this so-called gypsy hotline. And she was taking a sledgehammer to me going, don't use that term. How dare you? And I'm like, got it. But you're not addressing this life, this experience I'm having. Yeah. You're invalidating that. So therefore, I didn't want to engage with you. Yeah. I don't want to engage with you. And I think, so I take that as an example to, how can I come to someone who's been in the church for 50 years and go, all fake, stupid, done, you're causing problems in the world, you idiot, could you change? It's just not going to work.
And even then, like what you're speaking to with that example is that people are not a monolith. And I think that you have to find ways to show people in the system that they can believe it wholeheartedly and that is their right, and it can be, under the right circumstances, a thing that guides people toward doing wonderful things. Great. Like one of my best friends is like the most Catholic person I've ever met. But she's a lovely human being. I'm sorry, I'm reading Steve. No, I was actually going to read.
Steve says in comments, as the husband of a school teacher, support your teachers there. The canary in the coal mines on what's sparkling for young people. Things are not great. That's good too. And I go to that specific example, which is almost a side tangent, but it was just like, my friend wasn't wrong, but it was just like an overall sense. But you're like, you're not listening, and you're to me, and you're coming in and just yelling at me for something bigger beyond. And now I don't want to have a conversation with you.
And to that point, it's like teaching people to understand that their lived experience and other people's lived experience are not the same. Like, you know, it was those people in Los Angeles' right to say we identify with this term. Whether or not you like it, and whether or not because yes, it is used derogatorily. And like, that's why we have the phrase gypped in our language. Like, it's not great.
It's not great, but
it's like, I also can't argue with them. It's the same thing that we experience sometimes, like in Latin communities of like, you know, I use Latino and Latinx pretty interchangeably at this point in my life. And I have talked to people who I adore that are like, I don't like the X thing. I don't like the gender neutral ending letter. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I really don't give a fuck. But it's like the second that you're like, we don't do that, all the voters that just went the other way, those guys. The second that they're like, well, we don't do that because you're trying to force him over. That's when I'm like, all right, just shut. You don't speak for all.
I don't. Yeah, and it gets into bigger things that you and I don't have time to discuss here today. But it's like, I don't know if shame works. Sometimes it does, but I just don't know if it works. And we all have those moments where you say something. And again, this is not about failing to stand up for people or groups or friends of yours who need to be stood up with and for and all that stuff. Like, I want to be clear about that. This is about a conversation. Look, as someone who has strong ties to law enforcement in 17 years and has done some stuff that, you've all seen on videos on a national scale, I do feel I have a better leg to stand on in talking back to those people than others, right? And that's just kind of the way it is. I might be fighting for the same thing with you, but like, I get upset too of like, oh, dude, I saw 6 cops standing around one guy. Yeah, absolutely. Because I've seen one guy in handcuffs take someone's head off almost. Like, don't assume that you know the safety of that situation. Don't assume you know why. Don't assume that those 6 are taking money from other. Like, it gets frustrating where I'm like, just let me handle this. Let me handle this, because you don't know what you're talking about. And I want to talk about it in a way that makes sense to them, and that's part of it too. When I go to the white Jesus thing,
you do have to be able to speak the language of the room that you're in to a certain degree, just in like in all aspects of life. It just to give yourself peace sometimes. just to be able to navigate things, you know, like there's no, I think people think that authenticity means like being about it every second of every day, but like you also need to be able to navigate to fight. So
I agree with that. I agree with that. And Coop says shame has its place. I agree. I will walk into an In-N-Out and shame each and every one of you.
I believe it. I believe that you will. I was also not impressed, by the way, with In-N-Out. I only had it the one time.
It's all right. Like Ellis and I had a good In-N-Out meal in San Francisco recently, so it's fine.
The final question comes from our friend Molly Damon from Star Woke Explained, who says, how do we fix the media illiteracy problem in both older and younger generations? And you bet your ass, Ken, that when I read this question, it was like I felt like Palpatine, like when he's like getting revitalized in Rise, when he's like rejuvenated by the you know, the power of the dyad. I could talk about this all day. We're not going to. We're gonna talk about it for maybe 10 minutes. And then Ken gotta get out of here. But I could talk about this all day because it is so fundamentally the fucking problem with so much of what we are dealing with, not just culturally. It's everything from the Oval Office all the way down to our Star Wars shows.
I agree.
This is a huge problem. But because it is that scale difference, it has to start small. And it has to start down here. And she says for the different age groups. And so I'll be interested to see how our perspectives differ or how the strategies might differ, because we have discussed some of those differences, which we'll get into. The other day, you and I were texting about the prequels and about how Gen X sort of will make up their mind and like never change it. And so that's something I definitely want you to touch on. But I will start by saying the classroom is so key, which is not something I should have to say, but evidently I do, since we're not going to have a Department of Education soon.
Linda McMahon.
Linda McMahon will be burying the Department of Education at WrestleMania.
That's Linda's music.
Yeah, and she's coming to defund public schools with a chair. It's fucking awful. And we are living in an America that really has an issue with intelligence and really looks down on effort and looks down on sincerity and looks down on a lot of things that you find, I think, above all else in schools in the English and drama and social studies departments. We're pretty comfortable with empirical evidence. You know, I mean, yes, there are science deniers and everything. Of course there are. They're running the government now. But it's like you have math and science and everything where it's like, if you disagree with it, there's a generally accepted cultural understanding that like you're a moron if you don't think that like y equals mx plus b. It's like, no, we all agree on that. Like we understand that. But when you go over to these looser topics that are more about interpretation and history and art, there's this feeling that like you can't be good at it, or like, why does this matter? Who cares what some dead guy thought? Or, you know, all these things like, isn't it blue just because the author liked the color blue? How do you know that is it? There's that smugness that is very natural for children and teenagers that can be worked out of them if you show them the value in discovering these things and how fun it can be and how cool it can be to find the language underneath these things and to connect with a book or anything. And you know, and to Ken Plum's point in the comments, oh, you started already. Yeah. It's not just media literacy, it's literacy in all areas. That's a huge thing too. I read the stats last week when I was ranting. It's really terrible right now. How many adults can't read above middle school and high school levels is really concerning and sad. And it's not a judgment on those people, because sometimes it's about tools. You know, I'm sure some of them are assholes, but I'm sure some of them are beautiful people. And yeah, we have made it so that it's uncool to like and do this stuff. And then we take those young people and we push them out into, you know, you use our worlds, you know, Force Center, Star Wars Explained, Octo Radio, everyone else in the comments shows, and suddenly it's like, I mean, you've had this reaction a bunch of times, like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Wow, blah, 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 in a nice way. But then you've also had aren't you guys just like kind of like reaching? aren't you digging a little too deep into that? And they both come from the same place. It's just who responds with openness and who responds with cynicism. And that comes from the classroom. And I feel very passionately that obviously these English teachers are underpaid and everything, but they're also just like undervalued on a cultural importance level. The things that I was given by my incredible teachers over my childhood and teenage years, I use every day. And I think that we have also put people in positions. I'm not going to start naming names because we're trying to keep the Blue Sky era real peaceful right now. I was told by the Blue Sky Day Oneers to not bring any drama over, so I'm not going to. But there are a lot of people that like we put in positions of, as Jared in the comments has called people thought leaders, you know, which is not a term he invented, but like there are thought leaders even amongst nerd shit, which we don't think of it that way, but there are. And when those people either don't have the skills or are cynical or look down on this in the way that I'm describing, that infects people's minds because we haven't taught people to, I said this to you once, like acquiring opinions is very in vogue. They're like, well, that's what that guy said and I like him, so that must be true. And that's just like not the case at all. Like you can like I respect your Star Wars opinions more than I respect most people's opinions on anything. And we firmly disagree on some recent stuff that, you know, it's like, but that should be interesting. You should be like, oh, why? Like that, you should want to dig into that. But we've attached our identities so much to it that we have to either, the guy that I like, I have to agree because that validates me, or the things that I'm brushing up against have to be malicious and awful and evil, and that validates me, as we saw with both TLJ and Tross, like going different ways. It happened both times, and neither camp will admit that they're like the other one, but they are. Excluding caveat, bigots and horrible people. There was a, well, in the same way that there was a, well, why did Rian Johnson walk back everything JJ did in 7? Same shit happened in 9. Why did he walk back it? But nobody wanted to sit down and say, wow, isn't this an interesting little dance? What is there? Like, what do they share? What is happening? And those are like Socratic seminar conversations that you are taught to have in schools. But as we keep going after these programs and undermining them, it's going to get fucking worse. And that is why the Republicans want a gut education. That way your child doesn't understand the sequel trilogy. And that is the end of my opening statement. Amen.
Look, you're a special kind of kid here, and I'm gonna just go to what Jared said. Also, I'm bringing up my friend's Instagram account. Jared says there's no fixing it. Most people refuse to engage with even the idea of metaphor without saying it's not that deep. I have a cynical view on this, and that is I don't know if it can be fixed, but we can try. But I'm right with you, Jared. I face that. You know, I think a lot of people know who I'm referring to, but I was off air at Collider, and someone said, "How can you like that scene in Solo where he gets his name?" And I explained why, and they literally went, "You always find things that aren't there," and like that is carried out. Mark Maron has in his last special the bit that he's been working on for the last couple of years that I was fortunate to see him build of a new kind of stupid. Where it used to be stupid people just kind of knew, you know, whatever, I'm kind of stupid. But now they're like, what are you, some kind of doctor? What are you, a scientist? So it's been celebrated, it's been spiraling, but it's been forever. And that's the thing. And I don't know immediately how to fix it, other than similar to the white Jesus thing of like, Force Center's just going to do what we're going to do. And if I can have those eureka moments, and you mention it, but yeah, that was the thing that turned the corner of the prequels, where I definitely liked a lot of things in the prequels. I definitely thought there was some cool music and characters and designs, and I thought they were pretty and this and that, and I liked it. But I was just like, right. Pizza roll guy said it was bad, so yeah. But it was Joseph Scrimshaw casually and calmly and confidently saying on Jedi Alliance, but it's about a trade blockade. How boring is that? And he's like, if Amazon had both an army and senatorial representation, direct government representation, not shadowy money, but if there was the senator from Amazon and the army from Amazon was currently surrounding Delaware or Rhode Island, that'd be probably an important story to pay attention to. And for me, it was I've completely missed things.
Yeah.
But I can't give that gift of enlightenment to other people because, as I joke, every election cycle we have to have the conservatives going, Springsteen's woke. Like, what are you talking about? Because
You
people
got
we're
your
not.
Paul Ryans out there. Like, I
Paul
love
Ryan,
Rage.
my Rage Against the Machine is my favorite band. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Great riffs. Great. You didn't listen, and I've struggled with that, and I don't know. The problem is, and I brought up, I was going to bring up Ken Plume, our buddy in chat here. He posts good clips. Go to his Instagram page, Insta Ken Plume. He had a clip that kind of went viral. I'd say, and it actually did. I'm trying to look for it on your page, Ken. But it was an old Conan clip, and he just kind of shared why. Oh, here it is. This is what Ken wrote on this clip. It's this great clip from Conan back in the day. And it goes, the single late night with Conan O'Brien bit that I contend best exemplifies and crystallizes the brilliantly absurdist comedic sensibility he fostered, right? Just Ken's words. He's a writer. Put it in there. He if you go through his comments, there's literally people going, what did you use a thesaurus? What are you, a college boy? What are you? And they feel insulted. They feel shamed by these words that I would not say are above and beyond the pale of the highest. He's used 2 syllables, not even 3. And I think that's what's out there. And I do think teachers are alone, and I don't think they're the only way to combat this. I just don't know how, and that's why.
And that is those people. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but
No,
just
please.
to make that connection. Like, those people saying that about someone like Ken Plume, who is a writer and is a producer, and he didn't just wake up one day and say, I'm deciding to sound smart. He's living with stories and media. Yeah. Those people were the kids and teenagers that were like, but what do you mean? Like, the color means something. And maybe that teacher couldn't connect, or maybe it was a bad day, whatever it was. But there was a pivotal moment somewhere in their education where they never had that, how exciting it is to get it, because it really is it's so exciting when a kid really gets it, or not even just a kid, but my mom, who has never ever watched a Star Wars movie after the year 77 when she saw Star Wars. She never saw the next ones and moved on with her life. I talked to her a couple months ago trying to explain something Star Wars related. Might have been like a meme or something. And then I was like, Mom, do you know that the whole thing is Darth Vader? Did you his family? And she's like, no, I didn't know that. And I said, let me break it down for you. And I just told her the Skywalker saga just conversationally. And she was like, I didn't realize that was all in there. She's like, that's heavy. She's like, it's like Game of Thronesy, because she did watch that. And I was like, well, it's kind of, but it's so exciting if you can get people to realize that it's cool. I don't know Brandon Hanna, but I know Brandon Hanna, but I follow him. And he was asking this about how do we get people engaged in science again? How do we make it accessible? Because that's his world. And I was like, dude, we had Bill Nye and Steve Irwin and Zaboomafoo and Magic School Bus and all these things that made it so satisfying emotionally to get an answer. And now it's you can either just get the answer, or you can find guys telling you you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah. No, all great stuff. It's not even internet as a counter. You're tremendously bright. You got to go hang out with some dumb folks. They don't care, right? They don't care, and they don't need to at times. I just need to know that I like Born to Run. That Born in the USA is a great tune about America, man. And when they're not going to seek the enlightenment, and you got to. That's going to always be the wall, man, and that's the problem.
Ken, you just started lagging for me. I don't know if anybody hears me or sees me or vice versa. Let me see. Did Ken freeze for anyone else? I'm addressing you all in the comments. Give me a status update and let me know if I'm still here or if Ken is still here. So I'm here. Ken is the one who died. Okay. Gotcha. Good to know. Sometimes there is, either I glitch or he glitches, and then I wait a second and we catch up. but it must be a Ken system thing. So, oh yeah, Ken just texted me. He said he lost everything, so he'll be back in a little bit. All good. I will continue on with my bullshit. All right. So Ken will come back in a second, or maybe he won't. Maybe this is Ken's like New Hope moment, and it's up to us. Oh, he says his internet is down. Okay, that's all good. I can close this out. No worries. I will close it out. But when am I going to close it out? Who knows? Because the difference.
I'm back, baby.
Oh, he's here. Yeah. I was literally about to say,
they shut me down.
Nobody can stop me from doing a long show if Ken's not.
You could go. I have to leave shortly. You can keep going. You can land this plane. Yeah, sorry.
You did freeze in a great thoughtful.
Yeah. Everything just went blank on my page. Spectrum struck again here in town. Anyways, I'll just summarize this, Alden. I don't have the answer other than a slow and steady, and just find the people that you could change. Because again, I don't mean to turn everything into it. Just be slow and quiet and steady. Sometimes yelling and sometimes anger can cause change. I'm just saying, Force Center, 11 years in, we're never going to be the most popular show. We're never going to have the big numbers because we're asking them. It's like I'm working on a bit about how do I get people interested in politics. Because we are taught that politics doesn't mean anything. It's both sides suck and nothing ever happens. But like, no, it isn't. It has great meaning. But it's like I'm the kid going, teacher, can you assign us homework? You all like homework, right? And that's, Force Center's a college course sometimes. That's why I'm trying to do content that's like pew, pew, pew. But like, it's impossible.
We're fighting the battle even within, like you brought up the great point of like, there are people that just don't care or just don't see it that way that you have to also reach. But even within, like, again, I'm going to do my damnedest to not name names, but I will use context clues. There was somebody who is a published writer and a producer and video director or whatever who I've had mad beef with for a few years. And he loved to like go around and talk his shit about me analyzing things and like saying that all I have in my life are Twitter threads and he has nothing else and blah, blah, blah. And just like being a smug fuck. And you better believe he was the first person I muted on Blue Sky. But it's like the like cynicism that even within the space of like another professional who wants to reduce things down is another problem too, because our careers now are being driven, as you touched on just now with the pew pew in a funny way, but like we have had moments where it's like there are brilliant people being forced to ask dog shit questions. There are brilliant people being forced to hit stupid points. There are brilliant people being forced by their bosses to do that viral thing that they know is kind of fucking disrespectful sometimes. That all plays into it. The last thing that I will say, though, we need a secret Alden gossip hour. One of these. You don't want that, Steve. I mean, yeah, you do. But like, you don't want that because we'll be here all night. The last thing I will say is I will defend somebody that absolutely does not need my defending at all. A very, very wealthy man with a lot of success named Jeffrey Jacob Abrams. And the reason why I think J.J. Abrams comes up here is not just because of Star Wars. It's because of something way before Star Wars. The thing that in a lot of ways defined him culturally, which is the TED Talk. And the J.J. Abrams TED Talk about the mystery box will forever be one of the most misunderstood and bastardized things to ever be broadcast on the internet, because he went up there and gave a beautiful presentation about the wonder of finding out how a thing works versus the wonder of not really understanding how it works, using his own experiences making Mission Impossible 3, talking about television, showing how him and Tom Cruise would come up with things. And then he talked about his grandfather and his grandmother and magic and all this stuff, and was able to illustrate how Jaws is a film not about the shark, but about masculinity and trying to control and trying to accept what you can't control and all this stuff. How E.T. is a film about divorce and how when he first realized that, and him saying that, and that talk was the first time I ever realized that, because I hadn't done my Spielberg research at that age when I first saw the talk. All of these things that are in there. And the only thing that people came away from that talk with to this day is, oh, isn't it funny that he likes to do mysteries in his stories? To the point where now mystery box has become a term. that people use to describe when you don't have the answers as a viewer. Because what? Because you're fucking entitled to the answers as a viewer? You're not. And that's not what the presentation is about. And the problem is that we can know factually what something is and isn't about based on what somebody has clearly said, but we just no, we decided that it's about this. And the ability to just admit sometimes that you're just fucking wrong sometimes, which is another thing that people I think have misunderstood with the internet, is that just because everybody has a platform doesn't mean everybody is correct. You can still get an F in English class. Like, just because it's a lot of interpretation doesn't mean you can't completely miss the mark. And that, I think, was like truly an early look that to this day, and if I ever get that man on a microphone, ever, in any capacity, I will ask him, do you regret giving the TED Talk? And I want to talk to him about it, because it was completely misunderstood. And I said everything that I just said once on Twitter, and somebody that worked for Lucasfilm previously came to give me shit about it. He now works at Amazon, and we blocked each other, I guess. I don't know. But like, he blocked me for being correct about this because he was so firm in his, no, you understand, but he sets things up and then the payoff is never. And I'm like, dude, I'm not disagreeing that could be your opinion, whatever. What I'm saying is, that's not the fucking TED Talk. So everybody go back and watch the TED Talk that J.J. Abrams gave about mystery boxes.
He's spoken about it. I've seen some interviews too, or articles, yeah, where he's like, I don't know, a friend asked me to speak on something. So
it has nothing to do with what you're. So that to me, we can have, to Ken Plume's point, literacy also just in life that gets so lost. Of like, if you went out, Ken, and you were like, I love Del Taco. I just don't think that it is good for driving and eating. And then someone said, I thought you were a real Del Taco fan. But you used to love it, Ken. And now you're criticizing it?
Tell me, I just had that Andrew Tate post on Blue Sky that a lot of people have paid attention to. And that one person straight up tweeted me and attacked me for being a right winger who thinks Blue Sky is an echo chamber and a negative. And it's like, oh, you didn't even read. You just saw some words. And you just rush to judgment. People literacy, understanding is down. But like I said, I'm not saying it's cynical. And Molly even says, "Hey, I've just asked this question to get your thoughts. There is no right answer." I do feel a little overwhelmed that this will never change, and it's only getting worse. But I'm going to sit there. I'm the dude in the party that tells you, "Oh, do you like Semi-Charmed Life? Do you know what that song's about? Do you know the Little Red Panties They Passed the Test song? It is about heroin and drugs and all these things." Because I'll tell you, because it's art and it has meaning.
Can I say something nice to end this since I went on an angry rant?
Yes, let's end it.
This is what gives me hope. Every single time that I show somebody something that I'm passionate about, a movie or a show or whatever, and we talk about it, you can feel the little glimmers of how good it can be one-to-one. And so I still encourage everybody to like, even if you can only win, quote unquote win, it's not a competition, but even if you can only like get someone to see it every once in a while, that's still great. And I will use my nephew as an example. In 2021, I took him to see Dune. I don't think he really got it. He was a little young for it. But when the movie was over, I turned and I looked at him and I said, "What did you think?" He said, "Oh, that movie was great." And I said, did you get it? Do you have any questions? Do you think you understood it? And he goes, "No, I don't think I understood it." He goes, "But I really liked watching it." And that's when I was like, oh, we're going to be fine. Eventually, we'll be fine. I think we will be.
I'm telling you. Do yourselves a favor. Hang out with the people that you think are dumb. You'll learn a lot. I'm not saying that's a dumb story.
My nephew can be pretty dumb sometimes. But
no, I'm just saying I spent 17 years working with a lot of folks who thought talking dogs and commercials and talking babies were hilarious comedy. And you have to function. You have to find a way. And you have to find yourself in that. So good stuff. Good stuff, my friend.
That was a good Q&A. Good job,
Great
everybody.
Questions. We'll do it again. I gotta go. Don't forget the audio version if you want to listen to this again, or just play it and give us a listen. It's available on the Knapsack Network wherever podcasts are found. Just search, you'll find us. It's the same RSS feed I've had since 2012. So you've been listening to the Knapsack Files of the years and everything. That's the feed. Put it there. We'll be back maybe next week. We'll talk. There's a holiday next week, so we'll see.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see what's going on in our lives. I'm around, but we'll figure it out. That's it. Final thoughts. From me, done. You, sir?
Yeah, just give us a follow over on Blue Sky at Anytime On Air, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram. I'm at that Alden Diaz, and this is at Ken Knapsack, because I have to specify he doesn't. There's only one Ken Knapsack, so, and we wouldn't have it any other way.
We wouldn't have it any other way. Bye, friends. Bye.